Hello, welcome to episode 2 of Ask the Patent Attorney. Nathan Lewinsky here with
Hi, I'm Vin Latempio, registered patent attorney.
Vin Latempio with Klaus Stanger and Latempio out of Buffalo, New York, and one of the authors of Patent Fundamentals for Scientists and Engineers, helpful book for all inventors out there. And we're going to get right to it. As we've said before, Ask the Patent Attorney. We're moving along with our process of how to obtain a patent and how to work with a patent attorney just like Vin here.
Well, the last time we talked about it, we said somebody comes to you for the first time with an idea. What happens? And we talked about the differences between utility and a design patent. And then the first subject that came up is whether or not it's patentable subject matter. Ideas aren't patentable, things are. So now you have a thing, and there's certain classifications of things that are patentable subject matter. There's article of manufacture, like a pencil, a machine, something that has moving parts, and composition of matter, new gasoline or a new drug, and then a process or a method of doing business. And we could maybe go a little bit more detail on what each one of those are in another show, but those are generally speaking
sure. And there's even videos up here at the patenthome.com website that help you. They'll break down each one in a more detailed format. But here we're going to try to discuss it. And we're going to say we touched on design patent last time a little bit, which if you have a bottle or a table or a lamp, it's about what it looks like, the design. You can make a light bulb look like anything. If it's the same type of light bulb, how it works, then you know it's about the look, and that'd be a design patent. But now we're going to move on to utility, which is the majority of people, they're coming up with inventors. It's a utility patent, right?
It's how it works, what it does, the use of it. That's what utility means. And basically, there's three things that we have to look at when any invention comes in to see whether or not it's patentable subject matter. One, is it new? Are you the very first inventor to do it? And we talked about that before. You have to be the inventor. It can't be somebody else's invention. Two, does it have a use? There's back to that same word, utility. Can't be just something that does nothing. And then finally, and which is the most difficult thing in any patent application, it has to be a non-obvious improvement over what's already out there, something that's not obvious. So I always use example of a table for this one, and I know it's difficult to explain, but this is my own little way of explaining it.
Mm-hmm.
You come up with an idea for a table. It has a top, a bottom, and four legs coming out of the corners. You're the first person 3,000 years ago. We were sick of eating off the floor, and we're going to get, and on the rocks, we're going to make a table. You go to the Neolithic patent office. You're the first person to get the patent on the table. So now I make my improvement on the table. Instead of having a square top, I have a round top. And instead of brown, my wife's got blue curtains upstairs. She wants a blue table. So my table is new. It's blue. Yours was brown. It's got a round top. Doesn't have a square top. It's useful. It's useful because now it matches the drapes. And so it's question now, is it a non-obvious improvement over the square table? And how do we decide that? Well, they have this fictional person that's the ordinary person skilled in the art. In this case, the ordinary person skilled in the art would be a carpenter. So you'd go to a carpenter, not an expert or the best carpenter in the whole world, just an ordinary, everyday carpenter, and you ask him, what do you think about this new invention, a blue table? Well, probably a carpenter will say, well, I can paint it any color. I can make it any color you want. It's pretty obvious to change the color, and I can make the top any shape you want it. I can make it square, triangle. But I need four, if he's never seen any other table before, I need four legs to hold it up, And so to me, these are just obvious improvements.
Sure. But if I came up with a table with no legs, and don't steal that idea, no legs, we're talking new utility patent right there, right?
Well, yeah. If you can figure out a way that's non-obvious to a carpenter to make that thing stand up, well, yeah. I always use the example of a one leg, having a pedestal type of a table with a one leg and out from the sides, a pedestal, kind of like the bottom of a chair, an office chair that has wheels on it. It's got the post coming down the middle of it, and it's got four extensions with wheels. Now the question is, if that chair existed, can the patent office take that chair and put it together with the table and come up with your new invention? So even though I might be able to say the carpenter the first time he sees a pedestal leg, he says, "Oh wow, that's not obvious. I would never have come up with that on my own. You should get a patent on it." But if that chair patent was out there, maybe the examiner would put those two patents and cite them against you. So it's never cut and dry.
It seems like that brings up a little bit of a gray area when it comes to applying for a patent. And not to move too far ahead, but when we're trying to see if our idea is patentable, just like you said there, now we've come up with a pedestal bottom for other objects before. Now we're trying to get a patent for a table. Who decides? Is it?
Well, that's what we do right in the beginning. And not that we decide, we try to make an educated opinion and an educated guess. And how do we do that? We have to search the patent office. So we would search for tables and chairs and anything that would hold up a tabletop, any countertops. We would search and try to determine whether or not those were all out there, and then whether or not it would have been obvious to put them together. What the words of art in the business are that some of these other patents teach, motivate, or suggest to put those things together. And then, I always say everything's out there. There's a million different things that people are putting together. Now, the question is, are you putting it together where it's inventive, or you're just putting it together where it's obvious to put those things together that way? And I always use the example of the piano. There's only so many keys to play a song on. Now, are you, Paul McCartney and putting together a beautiful ballad, or are you just, your daughter playing chopsticks? Now that you both have the same number of keys, now the question is, out there, are you Mozart or Beethoven, or are you just playing chopsticks with those keys? But essentially, there's only so many things in the world. There's a finite number of things in the world that you put it together a certain way, and now it becomes either patentable because it's in Europe they call it the inventive step. You have this inventive leap. But the question is whether or not you have that inventive leap.
You brought up the prior art search. We're right here in the beginning stages. I got my napkin, I got my drawing, I got my little model of whatever my idea is. That prior art search, we're talking about the front lines of the idea. That's the initial part of the process.
Absolutely. In prior art, people don't know what that means sometimes, and it just means old patents are out there, or old descriptions of in books, like maybe in the mechanics manuals or something.
The art being the category.
The art being
carpentry, mechanics.
Exactly, and whether there's prior art in that field out there that could shoot you down.
Okay. How much time we got here?
About 2 minutes here.
About 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're working on just what kind of patent we need. We know that once we get our idea to Vin here, we got to do a prior art search. We got to make sure that this is a non-obvious improvement in the art that our invention falls under. So we're going to have to move along here, and I think we're going to have to find out as we move along, hey, maybe the patent we're looking for it's more specific. Just utility is a little bit broad. There's different categories under there, and I think we're going to check that out next time. We haven't gotten any emails yet for questions, but we're looking forward to them, and hopefully as this thing gets rolling, we have a little bit more content. We'll have even more viewers, and going back on these videos, and we'll do some more.
Yeah, so basically what we have, just to round it up, you have an idea, we need to do a search to see if it's already out there. And then from there, we'll talk maybe next week of the type of things that you need to do to be able to communicate with the attorney so as to get your idea in shape to be placed in a patent application.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thanks again for watching Ask the Patent Attorney, Nate Lewinsky and Vin Latempio.
Thanks,
and
Nate.
we'll see you next time. Thank you.